Hey, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to Sunday. So today is Sunday Satsang and Feast, and I hope everyone's having a great Sunday. I hope everybody's been having a pretty good weekend. Yesterday we kind of took it easy. It was rest and kind of our rest and retreat day, and the day before that was Friday, which is our Kirtan day. So I had a couple of people reach out to me and just ask me, like, why didn't we actually play the Kirtan tune that we were learning for this week? And I don't know. I mean, to be honest with you, yesterday, Bhakti Chris was here and he was visiting with us and he just kind of popped in, which of course happens here at the Bhakti house all the time. So I shouldn't have been surprised by that. But um, I don't know. It just seemed like a Prabhupada day for me yesterday. And we were kind of talking about the previous week yesterday. So that was kind of the reasoning for a lot of that. So we're back here at the Bhakti house again today. And um, I want to take today to talk a little bit about some Shastra. We'll get into some of the Shastra, some of the scripture here pretty soon. And I've put together a really nice blog post for you guys as well on our website, www.thebhaktihouse.org. So it's THEBHAKTIHOUSE.org if you're interested in looking at that. I'll also have a link in the description below this video, but I'm not exactly sure when I'll get around to posting the description, a formal description, and a formal link and everything. So depending on when you watch this, it may or may not have been updated yet. It's a little bit chilly here today, but the weather is getting warmer here in Michigan. All night last night, it was right around, I got up this morning probably around 2:30, 3 o'clock, and it was right around 28 degrees outside Fahrenheit. So, a lot warmer than being negative 28 degrees or negative 20 degrees, which we've had those days here, back in January and in the much of February so far. So, but it was February, it was the Valentine's Day yesterday. We had quite a lot going on with that. So, today is a very special day also. It's Shivaratri. And I also went ahead and put together a nice blog post for you guys on that as well. That kind of detail. So a lot of people ask me, well, Chandra, we're Vaishnavas, not Shivites. Why exactly would we celebrate like Shivaratri, or different things on that end? And because we worship Vishnu, we worship Krishna and all the incarnations of Vishnu in that. So why Shiva? Well, it's because Shiva's actually like his example is like so tremendously awesome. Shiva's actually like the greatest devotee of Lord Vishnu. And I've done a whole write-up for you guys on this as well. So if you want to go to the blog, you can just go to thebhaktihouse.org, click on blog, and you'll see it today. Be ready to go for you guys. So give me just a minute. I've got a couple of notes, and I'm going to grab those real quick, and then we'll kind of get into the satsang a little bit here. So I've got my notes here. We've also got notes on Shivaratri also. So maybe we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. So to kind of like get back on track a little bit here with kind of where we've been going with everything. This week it's about steady heart and steady name. Okay, so we're chanting the Maha Mantra and we're working our consistency with that. And seeing how that feels, and not putting too much pressure on ourselves. I mean, we've been taking this very gradually week after week. And so this week in our community, we are just kind of more focusing on having a steady heart and then also a steady name. Those kind of two go hand in hand. We want to do our japa, we want to do our chanting of the holy names of Maha Mantra, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. We want to do that with love, and we want to do that with being steadfast, and we want to do that very steady. We want to be very consistent in that. So this Sunday, of course, is going to more or less complete kind of the weekly, the weekend, I would say. But this is a great way to kind of lead off into the following week. So we'll be getting in starting tomorrow, like Monday. It's kind of our day to take all of the stuff that we're gathering here this week. We have the music and the inspiration of doing Kirtan, learning how to do Kirtan, so that we can present it and share it nicely with other people very humbly. Also, Saturdays we are learning the physiology of things. Like that's where we work on our mind, body, spirit when it comes to the program that we're working on for that particular week. And I just mentioned that this is about like steady. So like yesterday was like steady breath, like concentrating in that direction. This week so today, of course, we're doing like our satsang. It's kind of where we get into Shastra. We dig a little bit deeper. And the first verse that we have in our Shastra for the satsang is the Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Antya Lila. It's chapter 20, verse 21, if you want to follow along. And this is Śikṣāṣṭakam 3. So this is written in Bengali, the Caitanya-caritāmṛta. And Trinad api sunichena taro eva sahishnuna ama nina mana dena kirtaniya sada harihi. So the translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, and we'll just say a prayer first before we get into the study. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram. So the translation for this text is: one should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So, the key phrase that I want to point out to you guys, like in this particular verse, is Kirtaniyaha Sada Hari. One can chant the holy name constantly. Constant chanting becomes possible when pride softens and tolerance grows. Steadiness is protected by humility. So constant chanting becomes possible when pride softens and tolerance grows. So to become more tolerant of other people, regardless of where they happen to be at in their consciousness, we're still tolerant of those people. And our pride softens. So instead of being like puffed up and thinking you're better than other people, or thinking that other people are lower because maybe they haven't become Vaishnavas yet, or haven't really adopted like Krishna consciousness, that's silly. Like, it's not good to do that. This verse is telling us, soften your pride, let your tolerance continue to grow, and then your steadiness, let it be protected by humility. So steadiness is kind of what we're working on this week. And so this verse is very fitting in this capacity, in this regard. We want to be very steady in our approach and how we go about chanting the holy names of the Lord. So the natural result of steady chanting, when chanting is steady and humble, what unfolds? Okay, so that's a good question. When chanting is steady and humble, what unfolds? So the Caitanya-caritāmṛta Antya Lila, chapter 20, verse 4, the Bengali says, Krishna Premagama Premamrita Ashvadana Krishna Prapti Sevamrita Samudre Majanna. So the translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada says, the result of chanting is that one awakens his love for Krishna and tastes transcendental bliss. Ultimately, one attains the association of Krishna and engages in devotional service as if immersing himself in a great ocean of love. So this is the progression of bhakti. We're awakening, there's the awakening of love, there's the tasting of transcendental bliss, there's attaining Krishna, and then there's immersion in devotional service. So this doesn't really arise by force. Instead, it arises through steady practice. And that's one of the reasons why this week we're really focusing in on being steady and our resolve to be very constant and very regular in our spiritual discipline. So supporting instruction from the Bhagavad-gītā. So our mind has a tendency to wander, and that's very natural for all of us. Discipline, though, is being able to return back to where your focus wants to be, which is on Krishna and God. So the Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 6, verse 26, Yato yato nischarti manam chanchalam mastiram tatas tato niya yaita datma nyaiva vasham nayet. So the translation from His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada says, from wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under control of the self. So what this verse is describing is the rhythm of steady chanting. The mind wanders, but we bring it back to the holy name. Okay? And then it wanders again. And then again, we return to the holy name. So steadiness is returning without frustration. So when it wanders off, the tendency for many of us when we're doing like our sadhana, we're doing our japa, and we start to kind of zone out maybe, or our mind gets taken away by something else. I mean, just a few moments ago, there was an ambulance outside or some kind of a siren. It might have been a police officer or something like that, or a chase or something. It's maybe a police officer. But the police car was going by, and so that took my attention for about a minute, not even a minute, maybe a couple of seconds, and then I was able to return it right back into the satsang. So we don't beat ourselves up, we just simply return. So no frustration, So you don't have to take tension, just no tension, just relaxation, and then you'll be able to get back into your sadhana. So so we got a few questions here for the satsang that I've risen for you guys. So here's some things to think about. Where in your life are you seeking intensity instead of steadiness? So now that's a pretty good question, I think, because sometimes we may have a tendency to be kind of intense in like what we're trying to get done or what we're trying to do. And, it's a little bit different than just this being very steady, like in our resolve. Steadiness is a constant, right? Like it's just something that is perpetual. It's continual. We lose focus, we come back. We lose focus, we come back. It's almost like your eye, like you may have something that comes in to focus and then it leaves focus and then it self-adjusts. Even these fancy web cameras nowadays, they will be like self-focusing. If I try to shut, I can even see like it's like kind of losing focus and then it will come back and focus back in. And that's kind of like what the steadiness is all about. It's about our ability to, when things are not going like smoothly, to just say, okay, no worries, we'll come right back to where we were at. So the question again is, where in your life are you seeking intensity instead of steadiness? And you may want to change that. You may want to say, well, I know, like, I'll give a really good example that I can give you guys. So, many years ago, back in 2009, I wrote a book, and it was not really the first book that I wrote, but it was a book that I really decided at that time, I'm going to write this, do it the right way, get it published. Everything's going to be really good. I'm going to do that. And I had a lot of other things, of course, spiritual discipline and, everything else was going on at that time. I had a lot of things that keep my attention daily in terms of its steady progression, doing my sadhana regularly, doing everything, chanting regularly, all these things. But I made up my mind, I'm going to write this book and I'm going to focus and I'm going to just do it. I was really, really intense in that direction. I was just like, and it probably took me about 8 months to write the book, but it wasn't me steadily doing it like, a little bit every day. It was me just really trying to like just do all the research, write all the pages all at once, and it was just a very, very intense kind of a situation for me. And because of that, like I got to about 8 months out, and I really just kind of at that point, it was getting to the time where I was like, I want to be done with this. It's time to move on and do something else. And so I got even more intense in trying to get it done. And then I decided, well, this is not, I'm just going to publish this. I'm just going to get it done. And so because I did that, now when I go back and look at that book, um, it's just like, oh no, I can't believe I wrote that. So it was horrible, I mean, and I say that honestly, but, and I will tell you this, I learned something very important about steadiness from that experience. Because the next book I wrote, I decided to not be like so intense with it. And I even told myself after the first book, I'll never write another book again. This is just too much work. But I did. I actually went on, several months after quitting that book, something else came up. Someone had asked me a question. Somebody had purchased that book and asked me, they said, well, I had a question about this topic and you didn't really address that. And I was like, okay. So I ended up going back and then writing another book to just specifically address that aspect of what the first book kind of mentioned. Uh, and in doing so, I was like, well, I've already written the main book, so I'm not in a hurry or anything. I'll just be I'll just do this a little bit at a time, a couple of pages a day until it's done. And to be perfectly honest with you, that book was not quite as long as the first book in terms of length, but I'd say probably 20,000, 25,000, maybe even 30,000 words for the second book. Maybe it was 5,000 words or so less than the first book. And I was able to finish that in about 2.5 months instead of 8 months. And when I went back and read that book, I was like, oh, this is so much better than the first book. And then every time I would write something, whether it was web content or a book or whatever it was, I just became better and better and better at doing it. And I became very steady in that, so writing became very, something I did regularly, whether I was publishing a book or, doing something like that, or working on web content for websites and helping clients and different things on that end back in the day. So then, so that's my personal experience that I can share with you guys on this idea of intensity versus steadiness. So we're trying to work on steadiness this week. So the next question is when chanting feels dry, do you stop? Or do you just kind of gently continue on, even though it feels a little bit of dryness? You feel kind of dry in your approach to doing the japa, the chanting. You know, I bring this question up because it was one that some people, we've had conversations about this, me and other devotees have had conversations about this very topic before, and it's kind of a mix. Some people just continue going because, it's expected that they'll get their rounds done, and they would rather get them done sooner rather than later in the day because they have other things to do, and they don't want to not do their rounds. Um, and then there's other people that will stop until till they can refocus and get things under control, and then they'll come back and be more devout in doing that. So my personal thought on it, and everybody's a little bit different on this, but my personal thought is I want to do things in a very devout way. When I am doing it, I want my attention to be on Krishna. Chanting the holy names in and of themselves, just chanting, and when you do it very mundane and stuff, it can become a habit. And I don't like that idea of just habitually doing something. Now, it's still really good. And will I say that? So I guess I'm kind of mixed here. So one thing that I do is I'll do my 16 rounds in the morning, like early in the morning. And then throughout the day, I'm doing more rounds. I'm doing more japa. Sometimes I have a mala that I'm chanting on. Sometimes I'm just, cooking and I'm, chanting the holy name that way. So by the end of the day, I'm not keeping track of exactly how many rounds I've done. It's not so much that's not the most important thing to me. Because I do my 16 rounds, and because of that private time and the consistency and the steadiness of doing that regularly, I have found that it actually has become a very important part of my day. Like it just is the most important part of my day, to be honest with you. And then everything after that is like a constant reminder of Krishna. So, the our acharya, our acharyas, our teachers, our gurus, our mentors, they all say, chant all the time. Always chant the name of Krishna. Always be chanting Krishna's name. Prabhupada gave us this 64 and then changed it to 16 to help the devotees. But 64, he said, well, Prabhupada will be chanting all the time. We won't even be able to finish the 64. The point was that Prabhupada was trying to make us just always be chanting. So if you're always chanting, it's going to become, pretty heavy in that way. But I think in the morning time, like when you're doing the sadhana, and it's just that really personal time that you have with Krishna and with God, then I think personally, for me personally, that I'm so focused during that time that I'm not thinking about anything else. And I'm just focusing in on Krishna. So I kind of compare it to like doing like arti in front of the deities and waving like the lamp, the incense, and all the other paraphernalia. You're so in that zone. You're doing it. It's the act of doing. And for me, the early morning sadhana is kind of that same kind of experience where you don't have time to think about anything else. You're only thinking about Krishna. And then throughout the day, while you're cooking and you're doing other things that may require some of your attention, in that light, I would say that, you may not always be completely focused, but you may find yourself doing something and say, oh, I'm not really that focused. And then that reminds you of Krishna. So you're constantly having that reminder of Krishna. So that to me is a way of overcoming maybe the dryness of just constant repetitive japa. Of course, yeah, so I think that's a pretty much kind of my personal experience and takeaway from it. But I'd like to know what you guys think, and if you want, you can do it in the chat here on this video. Or if you want to reach out via the website, you can do that. There's a contact form on there and stuff. I'd love to hear maybe kind of like what your experience is in doing your spiritual discipline every day. Kind of what that looks like. That would be very interesting. And if I get enough of people that will actually respond, I will actually maybe come on and do like a, share everybody's results, but very privately. I won't mention names or anything. So then what would it look like? This is question number 3. What would it look like to chant regularly without pressure and then simply trusting the process? So it's like there's no pressure. You're not feeling this thing of like, oh, I made a vow, I have to chant my 16 rounds, or what? Or I'm fallen, like I've fallen down. But that may be putting like pressure on you to, we get like performance anxiety, that kind of thing. And that may take the experience of doing japa and make it not so pleasurable. And, Prabhupada always said, chant and be happy. So we should chant with happiness, and thinking of Krishna, and that very humble state and very nice way of doing it. So that would be my thought on that. So sometimes we just have to trust the process, and, I'm sure there will be days where you're much more emotionally involved in your japa than maybe other days. But on days like that, another thing that I think is important is, and that's why I'm teaching you guys like harmonium and the instruments and all this, um, primarily so that you can do this on times when maybe you kind of get kind of stuck in your chanting, and you maybe feel like there is that pressure there and you want to kind of come out of that. One great way of doing that is you can grab your harmonium over here, we have, and then, or your keyboard, whatever you happen to have, or kartals or mridanga, whatever suits you. And then from that, you are able to you know, start doing the music with your chanting. And you can do kirtan on your own. You can share it with other people as well. And it can be very sweet in that capacity. So I think that's kind of the takeaway that I would give you guys on that end. So the last question that I have is, what do you guys think about this concept of being steady? Like, what does it really mean to you? I think maybe at first glance, without really kind of overthinking things or kind of deeply thinking about things, or even looking at philosophical thinking, I think that people just kind of brush it off and say, oh, steady is just like, just don't be in a hurry. We're not going too slow, but we're not being too fast either. We're just kind of taking things easy, that type of way, and just being kind of steady with it. And to me, I think that that is something that is important as well. So when we're doing a japa, if you're thinking about racing through your japa, like racing through all these rounds, you're not really getting the experience. You're not getting the full nectar of doing it. Now, there's benefit, of course, in doing that, but I think if you're just steady in it, you'll start to really take the time to really appreciate what you have with that japa. Okay, so that's something I would say to you guys. So with that being said, let's see if there's anything else I wanted to cover here. Yeah, I was just going to say, there's so many different ways that you can japa, and you can sing and stuff. Now, there was some things saying people like with taking rides in the car, like driving, maybe don't do the japa. That's something that I think Prabhupada had actually brought up. But if you're taking car rides and other people are driving, or you're doing a caravan for like Harinam or whatever, you could actually use that as an opportunity, some japa as well. There's the morning japa, your car rides. While you're preparing your meals, you can do japa. When we're practicing harmonium, of course, we are doing japa. We're doing kirtan. And then I think in the evening is another great time, like when you're doing some reflection. Maybe you're reading some Srimad Bhagavatam or some of Prabhupada's other books, and you're thinking, oh, this is really great. And then during that time, you can take an opportunity, some extra japa as well. So we learn, we practice, we integrate, and then of course we share with others. And that's kind of the format that I've kind of set out, like with these kind of 3 days. day one, we're kind of learning what the music is, the tune. That's kind of fun, right? Then we can do our kirtan. That's always a lot of fun. And it can be very spiritually developing. And then we practice on Saturday. We do our mind and body, and that we do our yoga, we do our kirtan, we do meal preparation and everything like that, and a little bit nicer. And then of course Sunday is about integrating everything. So we're talking about all of this here, and I like to bring in the satsang on Sunday because I think it kind of gets us a little bit more, it's fresh on our minds to take with us, like as we go about through Monday and everything. So that's just kind of it's kind of the way I was thinking about it when we started to put this all together. And I also wanted to kind of mirror in many ways the ways that other temples are doing this as well. So we have the Sunday feast for you guys, and I've got the links on there that will take you to where you can get these recipes. Sometimes it's the actual recipe itself. Sometimes it's going to be like the main index where you can find the recipes. But this is all through harekrishnarецipes.com. You can go there. But steamed basmati rice, some yellow dal today, seasonal vegetable sabji. There's so many different ones that you can take from. Some fresh chutney recipes. We have halwa, ladus. Also, just so you guys know, too, just as a kind of a reminder here, if you guys want to help and support the Bhakti House and just be an active member in a sense, you can become a member for as low as $15 a month. And this is all voluntary donations. So, I mean, there is no it's not about status or who's giving what or who's doing anything like that. This is just something that you may choose to do out of your own heart. And if it's not in your heart to do it, definitely do not do it. If it is in your heart to do it, it would be warmly welcomed. Let's just put it that way. But for those of you that actually become members and you sign up and for the $15, kind of you're sponsoring this Bhakti House. And so you're the community. So people that are the community, those that get value from this content and just want to help and see this place grow, and then also help us create other Bhakti houses, as we continue growing. That's kind of the whole point of this. So, $15 a month is not a lot. People pay more than that for like Netflix subscriptions and all these other kind of things. And I promise you'll get a lot of value. But the other thing too with this is for those that do, we're sending like the spice packs. So we actually have the Bhakti spice that we've created, and we add it to our whatever dal, rice, sabji, whatever preparations you're creating. You can add this to it. It will enrich the dish nicely, give it more of kind of that authentic Indian taste, very kind of like Punjabi flavoring. And I think you'll really like it. So we give that for free every month too. We'll give you the packet so that you can have that to add to your thing. And this is all offered as well. So that's prashadam. So actually you add it to your food, even if you haven't had time to pray over your food and that, which you should. But if you don't, you can always add this and then you can take prashadam that way as well. So, kind of a nice way of doing it. So we'll send that out once a month, a packet of that to anyone that makes the commitment to be, actively involved in the community. So right now what I'd like to do is I'd like to do a little bit of kirtan with you guys, and we'll look at the tune for this coming week. We'll kind of think through this a little bit and just have a little bit of we'll connect with it. But more than anything this week though, let's just work on being very steady in our approach. Every single day we should be doing something kind of regular, right? And let's just try to commit to that, So even if like in previous weeks that we've been doing this, we're returning to the holy name, this, that, and the other, this week we're becoming steady in our practice. Let's try to emulate that, or at least try to keep it in our mind that this is something that we'd like to do. So I'll grab I think I'll just grab the keyboard today and then sit, and then we'll do a little bit of kirtan. I'll get a little bit closer this time because I don't know if the audio will pick up the harmonium and the music from up there. And we kind of have it hardwired in here for the internet. So let me just see if I can get this a little bit down. I think that'll zoom in. We're up here. So we'll just use the SA 46 today on the harmonium feature. So the tune, and I can do this in Sargam, or I can do it also in maybe the Western notation, for those of you that are more familiar with that. So the way it goes is depending on whatever key you're playing, you can play it in C, you can play it in B flat major, which is what I've been playing it in. Your saw is going to be, of course, B flat. So that's B flat. Re is going to be the key is going to be the C key. So like middle C on your piano or your harmonium. Ga is going to be D, the D key. Ma is going to be como ma is going to be actually D sharp, which is a black key. Pa is going to be the F key. And then da is going to be the G key. And if you were going through the rest of the key, it would be, you have da, then you'd have ni would be your A key. And then you would go back to sa, which would be the next B flat. So there we go. So that's the first part of the melody that we're learning. So we call it melody 2, just because we have the Hare Kṛṣṇa Mahā Mantra, which is really our first melody. And then we have the second melody is here. So it's going to be on ga, or the D key, then re, and then sa. Then we're going to jump over to como ma, and then back to ga, re, sa. Okay, guys. Hope you guys can get that. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rāma. So if you're struggling with that, what I would tell you is do it with the notation first. So do ga 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 sa, ma 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 sa. Okay. And if you're then once you start to put the mantra with it, you may need to actually hit, you may have to hit the notes every single time. Now, the D key, which is our ga right here, we're keeping that pressed mostly. So it's Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare. So these notes, some of them are keeping pressed longer because they're being held for a longer time signature, so a longer duration of time, like in the music. So we start with the Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. We can practice that a little bit. So let's practice it like with our Kirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So that's the first part. The second part, we start on pa. So it's our fifth. It's the fifth key in our key signature. So we have sa ni ga ma, so sa ni ga ma, and then pa is this key right here. Now, ordinarily, we would have this as being second position, where our thumb would actually be on pa, and then da would be the the pointer finger. And then knee would be our third finger. And then our fourth finger would hit the B flat, which would be the next saw. So it'd be the high saw. But we don't need to do that because the only thing we need is to be able to hit this da. So, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare. And then we can take our fourth finger and put it on pa. So this will be our second position. Hare Krishna. So that Krishna, that is our da, ba. So we have pa 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 pa, da, ba, and then ga, and then ba, ba, ba. So that is the whole part of it. So it's Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Can you go back to pa? Uh, so for the kirtan, as you're doing the kirtan, and maybe you guys will want to practice this also, you can do like Krishna, Krishna, um, so, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So you can kind of practice it that way if you like, and that'll help you get familiar with both parts of it. So if you just practice one and then go to the other one, by the time you really master the second one, you may have forgot the first one. So I think maybe the easiest exercise would be to kind of do both of them at the same time to get in the habit of doing that, and then it'll be that muscle memory. You'll just automatically connect with it. And I think intuitively, I know this happens for me a lot with music. Intuitively, you'll kind of know when to transition into the second part and then when to transition back into the first part and so on. And like I was saying, devotees, when we are doing this and the um, you know, when we're doing this, like we can build on from last week as well. So don't forget the Prabhupada melody. Like and then you can move right into the first and second part. So then this way you're kind of like building on your knowledge. And it also gives you more to learn. But let me emphasize this, let me stress this. If you find that that is too difficult, or you find that that is just too overwhelming and just, your brain feels like it's going to explode, don't worry about just mastering the Prabhupada melody. You'll have a lifetime, trust me, many, many years to perfect this and to perfect both of these actually, to the point where you will naturally grasp them. Because remember, this is all about being steady, right? So, um, Prabhupada. So Prabhupada is Eka Mama. Sattvic. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Hare. Okay, so that's that. Now, I could go into the chords and kind of show you guys like what that would look like, but I think this is maybe a good stopping point as far as kirtan goes today, because again, this is like we're really putting things into practice today. We're letting our heart really do a lot of the work here, and then just really finding that devotional space like in our heart to help other people as well. And we can do that through teaching that we can teach people the same tunes if you like, or you can play the tunes and engage people in kirtan, which is really a great way of doing it, because people have a tendency to like once they really start to sing and they see how it is and how humble and humbling it can be, especially like if you're doing it out in public and you have a few passerbys go on and maybe you distribute a book and stuff, and then you encourage or invite them, say, hey, would it be okay if you and I just kind of done, we could sing the mantra, can I show you how to do that? So this is one approach that I've used before, and I find that it's very sweet. It's like then people really start to understand that, this guy's not here just trying to sell me a book. He's really taking time with me to teach me the mantra. And so I teach them the Maha Mantra and how to chant it. Um, I always take a donation for the malas because, I'm not trying to be anyone's guru by any means. But so by taking some Lakshmi, it's like an even exchange. So they're like purchasing the malas actually in a sense from the Bhakti house. So, but in that regard, so they get a book, they maybe get a mala as well. And then in doing that, then I take a little bit of time. I say, hey, look, I know that everyone's in a hurry these days. I really get it. But would it be okay if we sat down here just together, you and I, and let me show you how we actually sing this mantra? And I'll actually show you the song if you like. And if you want to learn how to play it, I'll even teach you how to play it. Would that be okay with you? And you'd be surprised. Now, not everyone will, but very often, sometimes people do. And when they do, it's a very sweet experience. And then other people see you doing kirtan with that person, and it makes a statement to people. And then other people may even, I've had it where I'm teaching someone mantra and how to play, and then other people will come and join or stand around or gather around, and then I'll invite them to have a seat and say, oh, great, I'll show you guys how to do the mantra too, if you're interested. And sometimes people do, sometimes they don't, but you just, at least they're getting some kind of an exposure. So the same thing with like this. You can do your ga 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 re sa ma 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 ga re sa ga 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 re sa ga Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Hare. Do that. So please, I guess my biggest encouragement, like we've talked about mercy and how mercy very often follows devotion. And so when you're being active in your Krishna consciousness, or you're being active in your japa and your spiritual discipline and your devotional service, that's the service activities that you're doing um, for Krishna. You start to see the mercy comes kind of just automatically. That's one of the reasons why you see like many devotees, who have really spent a lot of time with Krishna and developing their practice. Many of them are very successful, and people are like, oh, that person's just really lucky, or they've had this opportunity or that opportunity. But I don't really believe that. I think it's just that Krishna's mercy is really I can tell you honestly, and there's been times in my life where I haven't been so devout in my practice. Let's just put it like that. And in those moments, I will tell you straight, truthfully, I followed success. I was very like driven. I was motivated, studied business, did all these things. And I just kept falling down and down and down. I have like horrible luck, in my financial, maybe I'd be enjoying what I was doing, but not necessarily like the finances weren't happening. I was having problems all the time, so many things. And then I decided one day that I'm gonna give this up, just monk life for me, devotional life, and just serve in that capacity. And I'll tell you, I've had in the process of doing that, not wanted for anything. Life has been so much smoother for me. Many blessings have come upon me as well. Um, and I love the devotees. I love Krishna, and that's where my heart is. And so whatever I decide to do, whatever I'm doing, I'm actually doing that for Krishna. So if I can help you guys learn a couple of these tunes here and there throughout the weeks, if I can share with you a little bit of like how you might want to focus in on do your bhakti practices and everything like that. Well, I feel really good about that. I mean, I feel like maybe I feel like it's more my calling in so many ways. And I just feel like in a very humble way that it's just trying to share humility with other people, and just let you know that there's times out here where you know we want we want someone to pay attention to us. We want something material. We want some success. We want someone to take notice of what we're doing. And I, I'm not saying that's a bad thing or anything, but I just kind of more, I think you get to a point where it doesn't really matter so much. It's nice to get a compliment, but at the same time, it's much nicer, I think, to give a compliment, a very sincere, very humble compliment. and to do things in a way that you're not trying to get attention or anything. You're not trying to get people to shower you with things. I mean, that stuff is really not important at all to me anymore these days. What's more important to me is just if people are actually taking what I'm able to teach or what I'm able to give or contribute. I don't even say teach, I just say share. I think that's a more humble way of putting it. But whatever I can share with you that you might pick up and find value in, it's if you get the practice of doing it. Like the greatest way to learn anything is to actually practice it. You don't become a pianist overnight, right? It takes a long time, a lot of practice. But the nice thing about like these mantras, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, it's 16 syllables, it's 3 names, and repeating these names over and over and over again, like as you're singing these names and all, is very sweet. And learning these songs can be a really nice way of sharing this with other people. It's like a doorway. It opens the door for you to be able to share Krishna consciousness. And in a sense, what you're doing in that regard is you're actually doing seva, selfless service, and you're also doing that your bhakti, your devotional service. That's the activities that you're doing for Krishna. So you're sharing this for Krishna, and in so many ways you're being benefited, but you're also benefiting others as well. And so we'll do it one more time. Krish- Krishna Krishna Hare. Chin, like you guys are here, so I apologize for kind of messing that up, but I wanted to kind of just give you a way of like you could chant it kind of silently to yourself without me singing along. I'll try it one more time, maybe. Um, So devotees, this concludes our Sunday satsang. So I hope you guys have gotten a little bit of value out of this. It's always nice when we can study Shastra. Again, you can go to the blog post, of course. All of the stuff that we covered in the satsang is all there. This video will actually be put into the blog post at some point, hopefully today at some point. And then if you're cooking prasadam today, taking prasadam, I would enjoy it. Like today is a feast. So you can take your time with it, be very steady in how you're creating the feast. It may take you some hours even to prepare a very nice feast. You can use the recipes on HareKṛṣṇaRecipes.com to really guide and help you. And then just find something nice that you think Krishna would really appreciate or really like, and then prepare that for Krishna. And then you can offer it. And while you're doing all of this, you could even maybe hum the song that we learned this weekend. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So, so I hope everyone has a really great week, and I've had a really good time being able to spend this time with you guys here on Sunday. I know like Sunday is kind of like you're trying to get yourself mentally back ready for the week ahead. So I think this is a good day for doing that, but we're keeping it very Krishna conscious. We're keeping our bhakti in check, and you can get kind of excited. You can think, well, how am I going to share this week? And maybe preemptively think through like, how am I going to do this? Like maybe one day if the weather is nice where you're at and you can be outside and there's people walking back and forth or passing by, you can put a little SA-46 like this in your backpack. I got the backpack right here actually, and it's a little docking backpack, and it literally fits right inside. So you see it, you think, well, would that ever fit? Well, this is just a little 33-liter college-sized backpack, and this fits perfectly inside. You can see it's actually more than enough space to fit into it. It hides right behind it in back. So that's one thing you could do. Another opportunity would be just if you're like doing the grocery shopping or you're doing anything, you can be kind of singing Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And people may look and stuff, but at least they're getting that exposure to the holy name and stuff. And you never know. Somebody might like say, "Wow, you're in a really good mood," or compliment you, or say, "Wow, it's nice to hear that." Or they might ask you, like, "What exactly is that you're singing? I mean, is that English or what is that?" And then you can get in a conversation about like Sanskrit and talk about mantras and kind of explain what the names mean and and teach that mantra. Another opportunity that you can do is, and I haven't done this yet, but I'm planning on maybe doing it today, is to see if we can get some of these little Maha Mantra cards. They're like business cards, but instead of having like all the information on it, it would just basically have like the Bhakti House. It would have the Hare Kṛṣṇa Mahā Mantra on it. It would have the website, so people can go to the website, get the content that way. And then these are just great ways of like keeping people engaged, keeping people in touch. And they go really great like when you're doing like Harinam, you're out and about and you're teaching mantras or you're singing out, kind of out in public. What I do typically is I just put this in here. I've got my chadar. I've actually got 2 chadars on. A lot of times when I'm out and about, so I'll take one chadar, put it down on the ground to sit on, and also offer have a place so others can sit next to me, really kind of intimately, and then we can do the dun 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 dun. Yeah, and teach the mantra. And like I say, you don't need to know a lot of tunes to be able to do Harinam, to be able to actually go out. Just enjoy that, and just like you would do your japa for an hour and a half, 2 hours in the morning or longer, however long it takes you. The same thing is good with this as well. You're out and about, but you're actually chanting the holy names through kirtan out loud, so other people can benefit as well. And at first, it can be a little bit scary. It's a little embarrassing. Like you're out there and you don't know what people are thinking about you, and you may get kind of in your head about it. Remember about today and about steadiness, and about like when you get that distraction or you start to have those thoughts, it's not about like getting frustrated with it. It's just about kind of coming back to the holy name, and that is the name of the game. Hari Bol. Hari Bol, devotees.